Amariel swiftly leapt over gnarled roots and ducked under low-lying pine boughs, her feet barely touching the mossy ground as she ran through the ancient forest. The midday sun trickled through the emerald canopy in shards of gold as small woodland creatures darted away at the elf's passing. She chased after the sound of coarse voices further within the woods, the human poachers from the nearby village having come once again to trap the wildlife against the elder tribe's strict rules. Bursting into the glen, Amariel instantly drew her bow and aimed at the tall, broad man holding up a struggling fawn in his thick hands. "Unhand the young one and turn back. Have you no reverence for life?" Connell slowly turned to see the fierce elf maiden, her ginger hair wild and eyes blazing like emeralds. He scoffed. "You point your arrow yet quiver at letting it loose, wench. Stand aside." Amariel held steady, her taut bow unwavering. "You try my patience, ruffian." She circled him closely as Connell's men stepped back at the standoff. The elf now gazed directly into his deep, cobalt eyes that strangely enthralled her so. What sorcery was weakening her resolve? Wrenching her astray thoughts back, she commanded once more, "Release the fawn." Her poised arrow grazed his broad chest. With a resigned sigh, Connell gently freed the fawn as it skittishly darted into the woods. "Must you always appear as my reckoning?" Amariel shouldered her bow decisively. "I protect these woods. No matter the hardened hearts I must penetrate." Over many chance encounters, Amariel curiously found herself allowing Connell's transgressions without punishment as a tentative friendship kindled. And soon her icy exterior yieldingly melted in his presence as a budding, forbidden love took root in the long sun-drenched days under forest bowers woven with shy smiles and beguiling glances. In their secluded glen beyond the realms of elven or human, Amariel trailed her fingers along the stubble on Connell's jaw as he drew her closer. Their ardor could no longer be contained as at last their yearning lips met, kissing with mounting passion. But the fates had other designs. On the outskirts of the village months later, bleary-eyed from weeping, Amariel collapsed to her knees on seeing her beloved's broken body, her kin's arrow piercing Connell's noble heart. Amariel crawled desperately towards Connell's lifeless form, collapsing over him in anguished sobs. Her hands trembled as they grasped at the arrow shaft protruding from his chest, as though she could somehow erase this cruel twist of fate. Hot tears streamed down Amariel's cheeks onto Connell's pale face in the icy moonlight. She tenderly caressed his cold skin, the skin she had showered with feverish kisses only the night before under the stars. "No, my love, you cannot have left me so soon." She wept, shaking her head in refusal. This was merely a nightmare she would soon wake from. How could her kind be so ruthless towards a man whose only crime was falling for an elf? The tears eventually dried on Amariel's face, leaving behind a hollow numbness, as the heartbroken elf knelt over her lover's body till dawn's first light. A smoldering anger sparked from her grief. Connell's unjust murder could not be left unavenged. Steeling her simmering outrage, Amariel carefully lifted Connell's weighty body and bore him far into the dim forest, to their secret haven. She labored through the day, digging his grave under the towering oak tree, then gently laid him to rest on a bed of moss and lilies, his noble face finally peaceful. Ahead lay a dangerous path, Amariel knew, but it mattered not. Though the road be long, justice would be served. Armed with naught but her bow and broken heart, she set out under night's veil towards the elven village. Her first arrow flew swift and true, finding its target in the throat of the elven guard, who took Connell's life. Chaos erupted as elves fled from her whizzing arrows while others charged forward to subdue her. But Amariel effortlessly evaded their clumsy attacks with her superior speed and agility. Then, drawing back her bowstring with a steely glare, She pointed her arrow straight at Eldamar, the Elven King himself. Amariel's arrow trembled as she kept the Elven King in her sights. Eldamar held up a halting hand. "Stay your weapon, I implore you," he called out. My guard acted alone without my decree. The other elves froze, wary eyes locked on their unpredictable princess. The Elven King slowly stepped towards Amariel. His punishment has been delivered, but must more blood be spilled? Eldamar gazed sorrowfully at his daughter's profound agony. I too have lost kin to tragedy. The taut bowstring cut painfully into Amariel's fingers as bitter tears stung her eyes once more. Memories flooded her mind. She and Connell laying blissfully under starlit skies, their bodies intertwined. His deep, resounding laughter as she playfully pelted him with forest blossoms. The warmth and solidity of his embrace, in which she felt so adored. Her rigid stance yielded as the arrow at last slipped from her trembling grip and fell harmless to the earth. A cry of anguish tore from Amariel's throat as she collapsed into her father's consoling arms. "My daughter, dry your tears. Death is not the end," the Elven King murmured. He lifted her downcast face, adding gently, "Connell's soul yet lingers. There may be a way." Eldamar led Amariel to a secluded forest pond reflecting the silver sickle moon. Kneeling reverently at its mossy banks, they held hands as Eldamar uttered eerie, lyrical words in the ancient elf tongue. The still water began swirling faster, gleaming brighter, till Amariel had to shield her eyes from the glow. Then, materializing from the dazzling haze, came a familiar, longed-for visage. Strong arms gripped Amariel's quaking shoulders, and she was staring once more into Connell's beloved sapphire eyes. "My darling," she whispered in shock as Connell drew her against his breast. She clung to him desperately, tears flowing freely. "Though I exist now as naught but spirit, I shall remain forever by your side," Connell murmured fervently. A small smile played at Eldamar's lips as he blessed the unconventional union between mortal and elf that not even death could sunder. No longer would old prejudices come between kindred souls. After the miraculous reunion at the Enchanted Pond, Amariel and Connell's unusual romance was finally allowed to blossom freely. Though now more ethereal spirit than flesh and blood man, Connell stayed faithfully by Amariel's side at the elven village. Their passion for each other still burned as strong as ever. At night, under the sparkling expanse of stars, they would reminisce about happier days gone by secret trysts under forest boughs, playful laughter echoing through their hidden glen. Connell, with his phantom hands, would gently lift Amariel's weeping face to kiss her quivering lips tenderly. "How long will the spirits grant you to me?" Amariel sighed sadly. Their borrowed time together seemed too painfully short for an elf used to measuring her life in eons, rather than mere mortal years. "Worry not, my love," Connell soothed. "What are decades for elven or human when our souls are bound beyond the ages?" Soon Eldamar welcomed Connell as a son-in-law, and stage celebrations marked the unprecedented joining of elf and spirit. Though never again to walk beside Amariel in the earthly realms except at the haunted pond, Connell stayed in Amariel's heart. Their remarkable story surpassed taboos and conquered death itself. 1 year hence, on the night before Connell's spirit was to depart at last for the eternal lands beyond, Amariel lay grieving silently in his phantom embrace beneath their oak tree's stars once more. "My darling wife, do not despair," whispered Connell determinedly, his ghostly fingers brushing away her tears. "Where you go, I shall follow, be it in this world or the next." Trembling, Amariel at last nodded. If their fates ever meant to entwine despite everything, surely their souls could transcend whatever mysterious cosmic planes awaited them hand in hand. And so the star-crossed lovers entered the inky forest pond's dark depths together without hesitation or fear. Blinding white light enveloped them as they clung fiercely, Amariel's life's blood flowing out of her even as she felt the phantom breath cease from Connell's lips. The unbreakable bonds of their unorthodox love gave them strength as elf and spirit became one bright glow, then emerged with flesh and heart reborn anew under soft dawn's promise. Seeing Amariel and Connell reunited so miraculously, the Elven King proclaimed henceforth the equality and unity between elves and humans in his realm. Prejudices that kept kindred souls apart would no longer stand. A new era dawned, celebrating diversity and inclusiveness throughout the lands. Now allowed to live openly together, Amariel and Connell were wed before elven and human kin alike in a momentous ceremony under spring's fairy lights. Joy and magic once more returned to the forest glen that was their secret haven as they established an open, inclusive community welcoming all. In the fullness of time, Amariel bore Connell a golden-haired son, the first inheritor symbolizing reconciliation between mortal races. The babe delighted elves and humans alike when his tiny hand curled instinctively around an offered elf or human finger the same. Here was proof that hearts need not be divided. When the boy Eldarion came of age, Connell proudly bestowed his own noble title upon his heir. Side-by-side elf, human, and hybrid descendants hence ruled the peaceful, prosperous lands as Amariel and Connell joyfully looked on arm in arm. The diverse community they seeded continued thriving for generations untold. At journey's end, surrounded by descendants, well-wishers, and friends, the couple was laid lovingly to rest in a crystal tomb decorated with ever-blooming wildflowers, immortalized together for eternity. Their remarkable romance overcame all divides and changed the realm's destiny, leaving a powerful legacy of hope, inclusiveness, and persevering love.